Okay, hello. Welcome to the All Facts No Cap podcast, where I'm your host, Vekar. And today's topic of the podcast will be my 2021 NFL mock draft. This, and I actually have really many topics to go through, but I'm just gonna go on this one because I was working on this a lot. And this is probably just my first one, and the first one, and many stuff can happen, so I'll probably do different ones here and there, like after free agency, which will happen. And yeah, so for the number one overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, QB from Clemson. So there's not much to say about this because Trevor Lawrence is the best college quarterback since Andrew Luck, and he's gonna go number one. It's just a fact that Urban Meyer came to now coach the Jacksonville Jaguars, and yeah, so Trevor Lawrence is a once in a generational talent. So Urban Meyer, this will definitely be like the perfect time for Urban Meyer to come up, and he did. So now Trevor Lawrence will go number one to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So number two, second overall pick, the New York Jets. The New York Jets select Zach Wilson, QB from BYU. So I personally think the Jets can keep Darnold and try him for just one more year because he's still on a rookie contract. But this draft pick will probably be for another quarterback because it seems that the Jets will probably trade Darnold and move on from him and find another franchise QB in Zach Wilson. But they have they have a lot of picks in this draft. They can really use they have they have a lot of picks to rebuild their O line. They can use a lot of their picks to get offensive weapons. They can use to help the secondary. They can use to help the front seven, and it's really complicated. They could go with Penei Sewell, but then they'll all probably have a top five pick next year and draft like another franchise piece from that. But next year they'll probably have, if they select Zach Wilson, next year they'll have an experienced Zach Wilson and try to build talent around him. So number three, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this one thing. There's no trades. I'm not doing any trades for this. I'm not doing any trades for this because it's going to be unfair, and I don't really know whatever team. I know what teams will want to trade out, but we don't know what's going to happen later. So I'm just going to do no trades for now. I'll probably do a draft where there will be trades, but not right now. So it's just not just for the first episode. So now, so number three, the Miami Dolphins select Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. Whenever you see this draft pick in other mock drafts, it's either Chase or Sewell. It could go either way. The Dolphins have many picks, like the Jets, to fit many of their needs, and I think they would probably trade this pick to get lots of draft capital because they still haven't made the playoffs and they've done well in the draft, so they would want picks. And it's a deep old line class, so I don't think they're going to go with Sewell. And a prospect like Jamar Chase is different than the rest of the receivers. So this is one of the most talented receivers, and he had a season like Devonta Smith had this year, but at 19 years old. The Dolphins need weapons and for Tua because they said they're going to stick with Tua. And the Dolphins, like I said, I think they will just trade this to get more draft capital. But if they keep this pick, it'll probably be selecting Jamar Chase from LSU. So number four, the Atlanta Falcons select Justin Fields from Ohio State. The Falcons are a really unique team in a unique situation because we don't know if they're going to move on from Matt Ryan. Will they trade down from the draft? But I think if they were to stay at this number four spot, I think the best option is to draft Justin Fields, and they can do many things with him. They can make him develop with Matt Ryan as a mentor, and since Fields has the potential to be the best QB from this draft class, and I think with a little mentoring from a former MVP can help him proceed. After Matt Ryan, they'll have a developed quarterback where they can build their future talent around, and the Falcons have a talented receiving core. They still have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. They have Hayden Hurst, a veteran tight end. They and any rookie quarterback would want a talented receiving core like that. And if just it will be the best situation for Justin Fields as he has a mentor in Matt Ryan, and and yeah, this will all probably be a good situation for the Falcons because they'll probably find their franchise QB that they can develop under Matt Ryan. So number 5, the Cincinnati Bengals select Penei Sewell from Oregon State. So the Bengals have a good receiving core, and I think protecting Joe Burrow should be their main priority. And Penei Sewell is definitely going to go top 5. He's going to either go to the Dolphins or Bengals. So Burrow had a very bad O line. I think it's good to just build that, and I think they should just draft Penei Sewell. So moving on, to the 6th overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Kyle Pitts from Florida. Eagles could go for a quarterback, but I think it's kind of stupid for them because they traded Carson Wentz, and when they traded Carson Wentz, it shows that they want to commit to Jalen Hurts, and I think they should try him for one season because if they draft another quarterback, it would mess with Hurts' mentality, just like what happened to Carson Wentz last year when Jalen Hurts got drafted. And I think they just need more weapons because for the past few years they've been bad at drafting offensive weapons. They took Jalen Rieger over Justin Jefferson, and I forgot his name. Not Nelson Aguilar. I forgot his name. Or Travis Folk. I don't remember, but they took a receiver over DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and AJ Brown. I just think they need a better weapon, offensive weapon, and the Eagles are very skeptical of not drafting one. So it is best for them to just get an offensive weapon for Jalen Hurts, try him for at least a year, and Kyle Pitts is probably the most athletic offensive weapon in the draft. And he's a tight end, but he also could be a wide receiver. Like he plays like that. And Zach Ertz will probably be gone, so might as well fill in that void for Zach Ertz with Kyle Pitts. Number 7, the Detroit Lions select Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama. The Lions traded their franchise quarterback in Matthew Stafford and now have a cute quarterback in Jared Goff. I think they'll be committed to Jared Goff for like the end of his contract. Maybe trade him. Excuse me. They could go for an offensive line or defense, but I think they should get a receiver like Jalen Waddle because he is a very solid and speedy offensive weapon. He can play in the slot. If they tag Kenny Galladay, this will be a really good receiving core for Jared Goff. And if Jalen Waddle becomes one of the best wide receivers in this draft class, this could be a deadly one, as Kenny Galladay is a very physical receiver, and to pair him with a speedy slot receiver in Jalen Waddle, it can be very dangerous. The 8th pick, the Carolina Panthers select Trey Lance from North Dakota. So if the Texans, I think the Texans were able to. I think the Texans will keep Deshaun Watson, wait for the best offer. Maybe I think they'll just keep him. Then I just think Carolina will probably use this pick for Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is actually probably the best quarterback in the draft apart from Trevor Lawrence because he's the most dynamic, as he's the best runner. He can truck defenders and he has a great throwing arm. The only problem about it is if he does not fit into his frame because he has injury issues. So then he would not be like a reliable quarterback. But since he needs to learn how to maintain his body from not getting any major hits as he runs, he can develop for 1 year under Teddy Bridgewater because he's a really good rental quarterback to have. And I think if Lance fully develops, I think he can be the best quarterback in the class. Best quarterback in the class apart from Lawrence. And I think he could be better than Fields and Wilson. So number 9. The ninth pick, the Denver Broncos select Micah Parsons from Penn State. So Micah Parsons is a perfect defensive weapon for the Broncos. I think if the Broncos need to rebuild their defense, since they might lose Von Miller to free agency, they could go edge rusher, but Micah Parsons is a linebacker that can work well in the blitz, and he can be used in coverage as has pretty good coverage skills. And since they're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, and maybe if the Chargers will be getting better and the Raiders may be getting better as well, they need to build defense. They need to build their defense, and Parsons is very versatile, and so he can fill the void that of Von Miller being gone for the Denver Broncos. So the 10th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Patrick Surtain, cornerback from Alabama. So I think Patrick Surtain is actually the best corner in the draft because he's very physical and he's very versatile as well. They lost Byron Jones a year ago and Trevon Diggs, and they have Trevon Diggs, and their corner depth is more are all free agents. So they have Trevon Diggs, and then when they draft Surtain, it can reunite him with Diggs, and they can have a promising secondary with Diggs and Surtain. Surtain is a very physical. I said for Surtain is very physical, and he can defend the short side of the field, and his size and length can disrupt like quick throws to the perimeter, as well as like it condenses the space he has to turn for coverage. And he's mostly played man coverage, and it's what the Cowboys I think mostly need. Okay, so the 11th pick, I think the New York Giants select Devonta Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. I personally think that Daniel Jones isn't good. I don't really think he's good, but the Giants need to get Daniel Jones some weapons. This may not. This may be his final year as a Giant, and they do not know, and they do not have any good offensive weapons for him. And drafting one is a must. And Devonta Smith is a Heisman winner, wide receiver. I think, the Giants should take a chance on him. He's a Heisman winner, and yeah, his size may be the issue. But if they need Danny Dimes weapons and Devonta Smith is available at the number 11th pick, I think they should take that. Okay, so the 12th pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. The San Francisco 49ers probably might trade up the draft to get a quarterback, probably for Justin Fields. But since I'm not doing any trades, I think if they stay with the 12th pick, they'll probably draft a corner, as Sherman and most of their defensive back depth will be gone in free agency, and they do not have a lot of cap space for them. Caleb Farley for a lot of people is considered the best corner in the draft. Farley is familiar with the wide receiver position, and he actually started off as a receiver in college, and then he became a corner. He flourished well as being a corner. Farley brings a blend of physical traits to the table in terms of his size, length, quickness, and fluidity, and athleticism, and he pairs with exceptional man coverage skills. And since they need a replacement for Sherman or any of their corners, I think Caleb Farley can fill that void. So the 13th pick, my bad. 13th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern. So the Los Angeles Chargers take a tackle as I think they're moving towards the direction of protecting their franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. They have a solid defense and they have good offensive weapons, so I think they should just now build their offensive line. So the 14th pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Christian Barmore, interior defensive line from Virginia Tech. So the Minnesota Vikings could go with tackle, but defense was the void this year. But next year they'll get Danielle Hunter back. Anthony Barr will be back. The secondary will now be more experienced. I think they should build more of that defense, as the offense was actually one of the best last year, and they do not have any key free agents on offense. So they need more help on the interior defensive line. And Christian Barmore is a very raw talent and athletic pass rusher, and the Vikings can be real contenders for the division if they just have another athletic pass rusher in the interior defensive line. And having Danielle Hunter and Barr, they'll be a good defensive team next year. And so I think the best situation for them is to get Christian Barmore. So the 15th pick, the New England Patriots select Mac Jones, quarterback from Alabama. I just really think New England is desperate in a quarterback. They might just take a veteran. They might draft an offensive weapon here. I don't really know, but I just think Mac Jones will go higher in the draft than people think he will actually turn out to be. And I just really don't know. I just have a feeling Mac Jones will be in a quarter to be taken by the New England Patriots because he was a quarterback that led his team to a championship to the championship and can throw an accurate ball. I just think Belichick will want to draft him, and New England isn't desperate of a quarterback. And since with Lawrence, I mean not Lawrence Fields, Lance, Wilson gone, I think Mac Jones will just fall rightly to them. So the 16th pick, the Arizona Cardinals select Kwity Paye at edge from Michigan. This is honestly a confusing pick because the Cardinals can really go with many options. Patrick Peterson would probably be gone in free agency. They might draft a replacement for him. They could go O line as Kyler Murray if they need to protect Kyler Murray because if he takes one wrong hit to hit that tiny body of his, he's probably going to have a career-ending injury. But I just go with Kwity Paye because Chandler Jones might not be a long-term solution, and they need help on the defensive line where pass rushers are an every down problem. And the Cardinals are also in a division with now Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson if he stays, and Jimmy Garoppolo. So they need dominant athletic pass rushers to give them some trouble. So the 17th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Gregory Rousseau, edge rusher from the University of Miami. So the Raiders really only need a dominant pass rusher, and they need athletes on the defensive line. And Gregory Rousseau could actually be a top 5 pick, has the potential to be a top 5 pick. And the Raiders need to get an edge rusher he was actually considered the greatest prospect, an edge rush prospect not too long ago. Is I think with good defensive coaching, I think Rousseau can be a problem in this league, and I think the Raiders should just jump on the chance to get him because they need athletic pass rushers. They need to, and same with the Broncos. They're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Denver Broncos probably also get better this year. They need to build more on that defense for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, number 18, the Miami Dolphins select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, left linebacker from Notre Dame. The Dolphins, they could go with a offensive lineman here, but since they have so many picks, they can look to find that elsewhere. But I think they should take JOK as they need a blitz-oriented coverage linebacker, and the Dolphins mainly run a 4-3, and JOK will be an impactful defender and can be used as a 4-3 will linebacker as he's really good at coverage. He's really good at coverage. That's probably the best aspect of his game. So yeah, now moving on, the Washington football team select Kadarius Toney, wide receiver from the University of Florida. Kadarius Toney is probably the most fun to watch receiver as he's the most electrifying receiver in this slot receiver in this draft class. The Washington may go with receivers in free agency, as I think they'll probably go after like Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, uh, Kenny Galladay. Yeah, it's a deep receiving class for free agency. But I think they can use their money to upgrade other positions, such as build their own line. Maybe can work on the secondary. Who knows, man? I think they can take Kadarius Toney to get more offensive weapons for Heineke if they're gonna try him or take a veteran quarterback. Or if they take a veteran quarterback, they'll have good weapons as they already have Terry McLaurin and I don't know a lot of their weapons, but if they take Kadarius Toney, I think I think this is a really good pick for them. They could not go for him, but I think Kadarius Toney is good for them because of how electrifying he is. So number 20, so the 20th pick, Chicago Bears select Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. I think Chicago Bears will trade for a veteran quarterback or maybe Sam Darnold. They need to upgrade since they're probably aiming for a quarterback. They need to upgrade on the offensive line because they need to protect that quarterback. But how they could draft a receiver because Allen Robinson will probably leave, and but I think it is better personally just get a better offensive line first than to get better offensive weapons because the offensive line is of course more important than just offensive weapons. But yeah, I think they can just build. Wait, excuse me. Okay, so yeah, so I think it's just better to get a offensive tackle to build that O line rather than just to get another offensive weapon, which they could probably aim for a huge free agent. Then maybe they can tag Allen Robinson if he stays, but I highly doubt that will happen. But Kirsten Darisaw is actually probably one of the best tackles in the draft, and if he improves on his overall power, because he is really good at run blocking, so if he improves a bit of his pass pass blocking, I think he can be the best tackle in this draft class. So the 21st pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Rashad Bateman, wide receiver from Minnesota. So I'm actually a Colts fan, and the Indianapolis Colts traded for Carson Wentz. So the QB issue is solved. They're gonna try Carson Wentz, and they need to get Carson Wentz more offensive weapons. Like I really like Michael Pittman Jr. I really like Paris Campbell. Jack Doyle is really good. Maybe they'll go after a free agent. Who knows? Maybe they go after like a Corey Davis, Kenny Galladay, because there's probably no chance in them getting Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin. But so what I normally think is I just think they should just draft another offensive weapon as they could address their cornerback issue and edge rushing in free agency, and maybe their left tackle. They could probably take a left tackle, but I think they'll probably just trade down the draft. But since there's no trades here, I think they should just take Rashad Bateman if he falls down to them because Rashad Bateman I think is probably the best receiver in this draft class. And yes, I actually believe it. I actually believe he's the best receiver in this draft class. I'm not going to say he is Justin Jefferson, but he probably is the Jefferson of this draft class. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But when I watch his tape, he there's no weakness to his game. He has a really great release, and Wentz needs receivers that have high catch radiuses, and his separation skills are insane. They're insane. So I think Rashad Bateman will be a perfect receiver for Carson Wentz, as Michael Pittman Jr. can be that. But now, if they have Rashad Bateman, Carson Wentz, and Michael Pittman Jr., that can be a pretty and Jonathan Taylor, that amazing running backfield. That's a pretty young team. That's a pretty young and upcoming team. So, and since they could go tackle, but they would probably address in free agency or maybe just look for it in the second round because of the deep tackle class. Okay, so 22nd pick, the Tennessee Titans select Aziz Ojuwari, edge rusher from. Yeah, sorry, man. I don't even know what's happening to me today. This is just my first podcast, so trust me, the other ones will be a lot better. But this is just the first one. This is my first mock draft ever. This is just why I'm probably gonna dig more research into this for other mock drafts. But this is just my first one. So 22nd pick, the Tennessee Titans select Aziz Ojuwari, edge rusher from University of Georgia. The Titans got bullied in the pass rush. They need to upgrade on. They need to upgrade that. Like if they stay at number 22, maybe trade up, trade down. Who knows? They need the first thing that comes to mind is they need a pass rush. If you just watch the Titans, and Aziz Ojulari, I think, is the perfect dominant edge. Because he's very physical at the line of scrimmage, and he knows how to get around blockers. Like I think the addition of Aziz Ojulari can be a huge difference for the Titans. And number 23, so pick 23, the New York Jets select J.C. Horn, cornerback from South Carolina. The Jets need help on that secondary. Their front seven isn't actually too bad, but I just think they need more help on the secondary, as since they have so many picks, they can probably just address that later on. But if J.C. Horn is available at number 23, He's one of the most athletic corners as his size, length, and physicality show up in the coverage, and he's ultra competitive like at the catch point. He really has good ball skills. He has a problem with his tackling form and playing off man coverage, but I think with Saleh as the head coach, with Robert Saleh as the head coach, he can work with him. He can probably make him a quality starter in the NFL. He can probably work on his weaknesses. Because however, with Robert Saleh, I think the Jets defense will just get way much better. Okay, so 24th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle from Oklahoma State. I never really put much thought into this pick because I just think the Steelers might lose their tackle in free agency, and it is best to get a replacement for that. But I just think the Steelers would just mainly go for they might go for a running back, but it's the first round. Like, why the hell would you take a running back in the first round? That just sounds stupid to me. But Tevin Jenkins, I think, would just give them more offensive line depth. Maybe it can help them in the run game. Who knows? But yeah, so I'm just going to move on to number 25. So 25 pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevon Mulrig, safety from TCU. So Jaguars need help on the secondary. Their defense was probably I think the worst in the league, but I think they just need help on that secondary. And Mulrig is the highest ranked safety in the draft. Oh, excuse me. Mulrig is the highest ranked safety in the draft. They need help on the secondary. So not too much with this pick. Number 26, the 26th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Nick Bolton, linebacker from University of Missouri. The Browns need help on the linebacker position as they were the 23rd ranked defense, and they need to find a linebacker that can attack gaps, be explosive, stay physical. And I think Bolton is the safest option for that, as he's really the most best all around linebacker in this, but apart from Parsons, but this draft apart from Parsons. But yeah, I just think they just need help on their front seven. They could maybe go another. They could maybe help at secondary, but yeah, they just need more help on that front seven as they have a good power rusher in Myles Garrett. They can need another linebacker that can be explosive and attack gaps and be physical. And yeah, Bolton is the best option for that. So the 27th pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Jalen Phillips, edge rusher from the University of Miami. Jalen Phillips can go higher in the draft. He can definitely go higher in the draft. He was once a five-star recruit, but based on his injury history, he will definitely fall a bit. And I think the Ravens should just take a chance on him. They need more aggression in the pass rush, and having Calais Campbell will probably not be a long-term solution. Phillips isn't a, and Phillips can easily fill that void and be a long-term solution, as he's a really good playmaker against the run and pass, where his his size, length, power, technique, and athleticism may make him a threat for offensive. And he can definitely and he does have injury history, yes, but I think maybe you can not maybe you can develop him under Calais Campbell, and Calais Campbell can be just there for their veteran presence. But yeah, since the Baltimore Ravens just need more edge rushing power, I think Jalen Phillips would be prop, properly fit for that. So 28th pick, the New Orleans Saints select Ahsante Samuel Jr., cornerback from Florida State. So the Saints are really in a tough situation. They have, I think, like over 70 million for caps, over negative $70 million over the cap. Man, I'm so bad at using words, but yeah, they have $70 million over the cap, and that's really bad. That's just I don't know how the hell they're gonna recover from that. But they need help on their secondary as it hasn't been consistent this year, and sometimes they get bullied in the passing game because they don't really have a corner that can play in the slot in man coverage. and they don't really have aggressive tacklers in the run defense. So I just think the sorry again to say they have okay again. I just think since they need to upgrade their secondary, I think Asante Samuel Jr. will be fine for them. As I don't even know what they're probably just gonna go for the best available player in the draft, and Asante Samuel Jr. is probably that. So 29th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Zavian Collins. I don't know how to say Zavian Collins from linebacker from Tulsa. So I'm not really gonna talk about it much for like the rest of the draft picks, but the Packers defense, they just need to upgrade that defense. Their offense was fine. I just think they definitely need to upgrade that defense. Maybe draft another corner because but since Asante Samuel Jr. is gone, I don't know who else they're gonna take. They need another defensive piece, and they need someone that can help Zadarius Smith and Kenny Clark in the pass rush. So yeah, Zavian Collins will probably be best for that, as he can shoot through gaps. Like if you leave a little space, he'll just shoot through it. And when I saw some of this film, it was insane. He has amazing speed. The 30th pick, Buffalo Bills select Aaliyah Vera Tucker, offensive line from USC. The Bills need O line depth, and sometimes I think Josh Allen just needs a, a better blindsided tackle. And Aaliyah Vera Tucker is probably the most talented offensive line prospect because he can play guard and the tackle. So, like, if you can ask him to play guard, he can do it. If you ask him to play tackle, he can do it. So the Kansas City Chiefs, for the 31st pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Wyatt Davis, guard from Ohio State. We all saw in the Super Bowl that the O line showed showed the O line just was really bad. It was really bad. It wasn't even at. It was not even. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. They definitely need O line depth, and they're at the 31st pick, so it's not like it's anything with value. They're probably just going to take a guard. They're probably just going to take a guard, which Wyatt Davis was really good. Was probably the best guard prospect in this draft. So I'm not going to go too much into this, but yeah, I think they just select another offensive line. And the 32nd pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jason Owe, edge rusher from Penn State. I they won the Super Bowl. I don't really care much about this pick, but they'll probably lose Shaq Barrett, which I think he probably will be franchise tag. But then Chris Godwin's also there, so they could go wide receiver. But who really cares, man? They won the Super Bowl. Why? So like, they get better, they get better. They get worse, they get worse. It's gonna be a lot harder for them to repeat. So this is almost the end of the podcast. I'm just gonna recap the picks, and I'm just gonna recap the draft order. And yeah, so this is the first ever ones. It probably isn't as good as it is, but hopefully I'll get better at that. Hopefully I'll get better at planning. Hopefully I'll get better at everything else. Hopefully I'll get better at everything else. And yeah, so there's not much to say about this shows. Yeah, thanks for listening. I'm just gonna say the draft order, and then I'm gonna end it here. So the Jacksonville. Okay, so the first overall pick, Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence. Second pick, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson. Third pick, my Dolphins select Jamar Chase. Fourth pick, Atlanta Falcons select Justin Fields. Fifth pick, Cincinnati Bengals select Penei Sewell. Sixth pick, Philadelphia Eagles select Kyle Pitts. Seventh pick, Detroit Lions select Jalen Waddle. Eighth pick, Carolina Panthers select Trey Lance. Ninth pick, Denver Broncos select Mike Parsons. 10th pick, Dallas Cowboys select Patrick Surtain. 11th pick, New York Giants select Devonta Smith. 12th pick, San Francisco 49ers select Caleb Farley. 13th pick, Los Angeles Chargers select Sean Slater. 14th pick, Minnesota Vikings select Christian Barmore. 15th pick, New England Patriots select Mac Jones. 16th pick, Arizona Cardinals select Kwity Paye. 17th pick, Las Vegas Raiders select Gregory Rousseau. 18th pick, Miami Dolphins select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. 19th pick, the football team selects Kadarius Toney. 20th pick, the Bears select Christian Darrisaw. 21st pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Rashad Bateman. 22nd pick, the Tennessee Titans select Aziz Ojuwari. The 23rd pick, the New York Jets select J.C. Horn. The 24th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Tevin Jenkins. 25th pick, Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevon Moehrig. The 26th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Nick Bolton. The 27th pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Jalen Phillips. 28th pick, the Saints select Ahsante Samuel Jr. The 29th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Zavian Collins. The 30th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Aaliyah Vera-Tucker. 31st pick, Kansas City Chiefs select Wyatt Davis. And 32nd pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jason Boy.